was an informer amongst our people that told the Indian agent what happened, and he gave them names, and these people were summoned to appear in court, and they had the trial.
And I believe there was 45 of them that were charged, and I believe 21 or 22 of them were sent to Ocala prison in Vancouver.
And because there are many, many more to be charged, my dad's lawyer and the lawyers for the other chiefs agreed that they would promise not to potlatch anymore until the law was changed.
Pungludi, who is from North Vancouver, who is my mother's uncle, was told that if he gave up his coppers that nobody would go to jail, and that wasn't the case. They went to jail anyway.
It's dark, and it's concrete, and it's unappealing, and it's unattractive, and you've taken somebody who were doing what their ancestors had told them to do for centuries, something that they simply did not believe was wrong, could not believe it was wrong. It was just essence of who they were, the core of their personality, the core of their culture. They're doing what they always were supposed to do. They're doing it deliberately, knowing the government doesn't like it, and they put them in jail.
But why was the potlatch a source of worry for the federal government? After all, Europeans sang and danced. During the 1920s, dance marathons could have been considered potlatch dancing. Contestants dressed up in costumes and danced for weeks until there was only one couple left standing. How was it that these Euro-Canadians weren't breaking any laws? What was so different about Indigenous dancing that compelled the federal government to make it a crime?
It is as though somebody decided tomorrow that Christmas was outlawed, and that you could walk into the shopping mall and arrest somebody for impersonating Santa Claus, that you could go into the schools and tear down all the ceremonial things that people have put up to celebrate Christmas, that you could go into somebody's house when they're having Christmas and take down the tree and throw it outside and burn it and grab all their presents and tell that they're being a horrible person and parent for even doing that kind of thing.
This is Edzi U, my oldest daughter. She's a musician and a composer. And this is Datsizi Sus, my youngest. She loves being read to, and she's a budding artist. They're close. Edzi was in the delivery room helping her sister enter this world. They may be years apart in age and interests, but every week they come together to share their love of Indigenous dancing.
Ready to go dance? Okay, let's go. Hurry up. Let's go. Where's your stuff, Kira?
They're part of the Githayaks, a multi-nation dance group. Today, they wouldn't be dancing if the Canadian government had succeeded with their law. Ottawa's future crackdown on Indigenous dancing began when BC became a province in 1871. One of the main champions was Dr. Israel Powell, BC's first Indian superintendent. He would report to Sir John A. Macdonald, Canada's first Prime Minister, that potlatches prevented the civilizing of coastal Indigenous communities, and he claimed it made them lazy. He also said Indian doctoring is the disease rather than the cure along the coast. He was referencing the medicine dance, which would later become part of the potlatch law.
This is not small stuff. This is going after something that was so fundamentally important to Indigenous people. It was part of their seasonal ritual. It was part of their social ritual, their passage of life. It was part of everything they did, all their ceremonies, all their traditions, all wrapped up into this one thing.
That was the way that our kind of like our constitution, everything was done in a certain way at a potlatch. The naming of children, marriages, divorces, any special events, raising of a totem pole, potlatch was held.
The story of Canada's potlatch law, of the arrest from the 1921 potlatch on Village Island, is a story most of us have never heard about in school. My name is Jonathan. I'm a Tlingit Tahltan filmmaker living in North Vancouver, but mostly people know me as Gordon Lovren. My peoples come from the Taku and Stikine watersheds in the northwest corner of British Columbia. I didn't grow up around potlatches or Indigenous dancing. I grew up in a small mining town in northern BC near the Yukon border. South Africans, Yugoslav and Czech refugees, South Asians, as well as Brits, Canadians, and Indigenous peoples lived in Cassiar. Being of mixed race, I didn't know where I fit in. Maybe that's why I want to share the story of Canada's potlatch law, because I want something different for my children. I want them to have a strong sense of identity, to claim it and to hold on to it with pride, to dance with a sense of freedom, and to honor those who were not able to.
His aim was to get rid of the potlatch. His aim was to make our people into Christians.
And so he started arresting more people. He started, confiscating huge amounts of their cultural artifacts, their traditional coppers, which are big shields they sort of use and traded among their population. He really wanted to stamp it out.
Beginning in 1913, William M. Halliday would wage a decade-long crackdown on the potlatch. In his memoir, he writes that he was ordered to do so by the federal government. It's interesting to note that the Federal Minister of Indian Affairs was also the Minister of Energy, Mines and Resources. At the same time the crackdown was ordered, large mineral discoveries were taking place in the heart of Kwakwala-speaking territories, and Halliday was talking about them in Victoria.
It was no coincidence that they started issuing huge land grants that included some of our valuable lands to the new settlers.
Halliday's biggest potlatch victory came around Christmas of 1921. Someone from the Kwakwaka'wakw told him about Chief Dan Cramner's divorce potlatch at Village Island. Almost 80 members were charged, and the trials made it into the newspapers in Victoria and Vancouver. Halliday's place in history would forever be locked down in the minds of the Kwakwaka'wakw. Dance practice in the downtown east side of Vancouver, a melting pot of different Indigenous members, including my girls, who make up a part of the Git High X dance group. "700 kilometers northwest of Vancouver, the founders of the dance company are sharing their knowledge with a new collection of young Indigenous students.
Some llodam nu some nuayu. Dr. Michael D'Angeli duam gum siwayu. Wo uxt amadich ligi takwan de wotwatgu. Lach skiig deep airgu. No waps na sawap de wach sawatgu. Rachel Askren was know you. Corrine Reeve wana di in sietsu.
Simgigat Sigamanach Gubawuksen, Gatsamil, Nishka Ayu, Teeth Klein, Gedeganitsu, Mike D'Angeli Gumsiwayu, Gingola de Wawatku, Tsamil de Berechku, Terrace de Wiltzagan.
How dance culture finds its place within the potlatch system is that it was born out of the potlatch system.
Oh, we hoist good up some. We hoist good up some. Beautiful job. I know it's really tight in here, but there's still enough room for you guys to give each other a bit more space. Other than that, it looks really good.
So before our culture was criminalized in 1884 through the Indian Act when the potlatch ban happened, that's where dancing lived.
To be amongst our family and friends in the South. We sing this song so that people will know that the Get Hayaks are coming. This is Song of the Waves. The Roaring Gods, Manel!
My husband and I, we were very fortunate to have grown up during what many people refer to as the cultural resurgence of our people. We both feel that it was at a time where it became more public.
Within our dance group now, we have a great group of people, a great core group of individuals, but we're all still decolonizing ourselves. We're still working through the turmoils and the crap that has been thrusted upon us as Indigenous people. The potlatch law and the outlawing of our potlatch and our ways of knowing and being, it was a form of erasing us. And it's really weird how even nowadays with the forms of erasure, it's not to get rid of us physically, it's to get rid of these connections. It's like strings or connections, however you want to look at it. It's like cutting into a cord. You know, how are we going to stop them from thinking that they're connected to the beginning of time and how they look at things, their ways of knowing and being? Why can't they just be like every other Canadian or American? Well, every other Canadian or American has an idea of culture. Might be the American culture, might be Canadian culture. And looking at it from that standpoint, I never quite understood why ours never was good enough for the other.
So in terms of cultural survival, while the residential school period was much longer than the potlatch ban, it's still when you don't have the ability to transfer knowledge within your own household to the next generation, how we are able to maintain our culture, our language, our ceremonies, it's incredible. Incredible stories of resistance and resilience.
For the co-founders of the Git Hayaks, today's resistance and resilience comes in the form of language preservation and education. Mike teaches Indigenous art and carving to on-reserve high school students at Kitsimkalem, just outside the city of Terrace.
Especially now that we're in this age of decolonizing ourselves, it's so important for us to be able to work through these ugly things that have been thrusted upon us and claim victory, to claim power over it, that it doesn't have power over us.
You don't have to put it in your mouth. I would do that if it were my paintbrush, but you don't know where these paintbrushes have been.
Holtzka.
And Michael has put her PhD towards developing language curriculum with one of the last fluent Somaliac speakers in the region.
Edward Innes, he's a residential school survivor, and he maintained Somaliac throughout the process of being brutally beaten for speaking our language, beaten and disciplined. And every day I'm grateful that I can speak with him and learn from him.
But how does hearing about our cultural and language oppression serve the greater good? How does Michael and Mike's community service advance Indigenous dance culture?
Because it's that truth that we know is there, but we need to do that work within our own communities. And I really feel that the work of teaching Somaliac as I do to in a K through 12 school as well as University of Northern British Columbia, that is the work that our people need to really come back to our true selves.
And so it's really important for us to continue that, because that's part of decolonizing ourselves, by understanding the different ways of knowing and being that our different nations, our wilayahs, our relations up and down the coast have been doing since the beginning of time.
Back in Vancouver, Nick D'Angeli now carries the mantle of leadership for his parents' dance group, but he says the transfer came a lot sooner than he expected.
I'm very honored to be placed in this leadership role and with these responsibilities with not only my family but also in the community that I'm living in. And I'm only 21, and I thought to myself that I always thought I would be a little bit older doing what I'm doing now, and it just so happens it's come a lot sooner than I imagined. But it's incredible. It's an incredible feeling.
Also, being a group leader is really, it's teaching, it's guiding everything from how to make regalia, what's okay to wear, what's not okay to wear.
I always think of this because my dad always told me this is to walk in the light. And what I mean by that is walking in the light of being happy, being proud, and holding all the responsibilities that you have, because, you know, it's important because we're the next generation of dancers, singers, artists, educators. Like, we're that next generation, and we need to hold on tight of all of our ancestors who helped pave the way of where we are right now. The way some of the world works, that, you know, it's okay to be grounded. It's okay to be proud of who you are. It's okay to, you know, when you're walking down the street singing a song that comes to you. I'm finding nowadays that I'm all of a sudden humming a song, and I'd always see my dad do the same thing. So it's feeling proud of who you are, and always honoring of where you've come from and where you're going.
So I ask that Tim Gil Hayek sings our victory song, starts it off. Waiwa. Oh, he oh, he oh, he oh, he oh, he
This is the landscape of the Kwalindun First Nation. They've been here long before gold was discovered in 1898. However, their culture was also pushed underground as thousands of gold seekers changed their lives forever. And now the Kwalindun are recapturing their dance culture at the community level once more. It's a work in progress as these people continue to shake off the effects of the Indian residential schools.
It was challenging because my grandpa, he didn't want, his children to know the language because it was seen as bad. It was not seen as good. So which took away from that, the opportunities there for them to pass that on to me.
Over, left hand under.
So Sean learned his language by sitting down with his elders and hearing them speak. As a former licensed teacher, he saw too many of his people leave the school system. He thought language and culture would make a difference in the dropout he was seeing.
Our water, we pray over it.
It really reaffirmed me to want to become a teacher of culture, of language, of our songs. And it's cheese. For the simple fact that there's not enough young men doing that. Young males being involved and being teachers and practicing their culture.
There's people out there willing to teach, willing to share, and we welcome people in our dance group as well. And because we want to keep it going. We want to continue on. We want people to be proud of their identity. We want those songs to continue.
What started out for the school has transferred to the community level. Sean is now part of the Kwalindun Chief and Council. He says his community still needs healing, and he believes singing and dancing greatly helps by catching the kids when they are young, a sort of reversal on the Indian residential school experience and the anti-potlatch law.
I like to see young minds and young hearts get that spark inside their mind. One of our dancers, I've worked with her since she was 3 years old in her daycare. And she's just full of spunk and just loves to dance.
Sean says culture offers the young a chance at future leadership. He says their dance group isn't about putting on a show. Rather, it's about building strong, healthy relationships within his and the greater community.
I think it just furthers, big items like reconciliation further along. I go into a school with our kids, and with a large population that's non-First Nation. They love the singing. They love the dancing. They love hearing the different language. And to hear kind of the perspectives around our culture, because it's a different viewpoint than the Western way.
I say, we just need to reclaim ourselves, to reclaim our identity, to show the pride we have, and just to continue it on so we don't see it vanished or we don't see it lost.
Sean and Sarah say more Kwalindun families want their kids connected to their culture. It's about building traditional capacity and provides the healing Sarah sees as more and more children take up dancing.
I do, and I see a lot of young children that are in the dance groups that are going to continue that on. You look around to the other dance groups that are in Yukon, and a lot of them are children. And they're proud. They're proud to, no one's told them that it's wrong. No one's told them that they can't. They get up there and they dance and they're proud. They're so proud. And that's why we do it.
The spirit of the dancer. I dance because it's in my soul. And I dance because it's my responsibility to carry our culture forward. I feel that I'm upholding and respecting and honoring our ancestors. You know, because my mom used to say to us, you know, you kids, you protect these songs and you appreciate that you're singing these songs because I was not allowed to.
What has dance done for me? It's almost like, well, really, it made me the man I am today. You know, I walk around proud. I used to be so insecure. Shakki-at means literally the thing above the head. That's the literal translation term for this. It made life better. It sobered me up, it healed me. If people really want to know their identity or know really about themselves, the culture does heal and it will heal.
Song and dance for me is one way that I'm instilling pride in my family. I'm breaking the cycle of intergenerational trauma. I'm showing my kids that, you know, we are strong people and that it's important to be proud of who you are and where you come from. So I'm so thankful that I have this opportunity to be in the dance group and for my kids to continue on, you know, and someday my grandkids, you know, someday I'll be an elder and it'll be my grandkids who'll be singing and dancing. So I feel a great responsibility for being a part of the dance group and for this being a strong part of our identity.
It's an honor to be able to share with the world who we are. But I think it also needs to be done carefully. You know, the one thing that I fear is that our songs and our dance comes too commercialized and less away from its original intentions. And that's something that I've always been mindful of.
You know, in Indigenous worldview, our world is not separated away from the spirit world. And sometimes they are literally singing with us. We can hear them. You know, this is about our community. This is about the message that we can bring to the world, you know, so people can understand who we are better. Because we are beautiful and we're noble, you know, and we deserve good things. We deserve to be elevated up to a place in society that we belong. So for us, dancing is just so, you know, multifaceted. There's so many layers to it. But I think at the most fundamental part of it, it just brings joy. You know, it just brings that inner peace.
We're heading to Village Island. It's about an hour south of Alert Bay within the Johnston Strait. After the potlatch ban came out, the Kwakwaka'wakw often sidestepped it using a simple diversion. They would let it slip that a potlatch was being held somewhere far north of the community on another island. When the Indian agent and the police went off in search of it, the Kwakwaka'wakw would head in the opposite direction. However, in 1921, Chief Dan Cramner had no idea his good-natured divorce would land some of his people inside BC's toughest jail.
The old people cried when they heard that they were feeding the pigs and doing menial jobs, and these were great hereditary chiefs.
And of course, my father never attended another public potlatch until the law was changed in 1951 when the potlatch law was taken off the Indian Act.
As an Indigenous person, it shakes me to the core to find out that the 23 men and women of the Kwakwaka'wakw never should have spent a minute behind bars. Here at Village Island, they were simply witnessing a friendly end of a marriage between a chief and a woman. 4 months later, in April of 1922, they were sent to Vancouver to begin their jail sentences. Duncan Campbell Scott was the superintendent of Indian Affairs and William Halliday's boss. He had been sitting on a report by his own anthropology division that said the potlatch law was wrong from the start. It had been completed in May of 1921, over 6 months before the Cramner potlatch. It recommended the federal government agree with the petitions of West Coast Indigenous nations to repeal the law as soon as possible.
We're still working at getting something done. They call it reconciliation nowadays, to deal with the effects of the potlatch prohibition.
Datsizi Sus is on her way to Whitehorse with her sister and the Githyaks dance group. They're performing at the Inland Tlingit celebration in Carcross, an hour away from the Yukon capital. Every second year, the Inland Tlingit from Atlin, Carcross, and Teslin come together to celebrate Hakusti'i. It means our Tlingit way and honors our culture, laws, and language. It's about instilling pride in being Inland Tlingit. Events like this shows how Canada's potlatch law failed to wipe out who we are.
I think it's really easy to be lost and confused and lonely when you're surviving colonialism and when you're pushing against the systems that oppress us. And it's hard to know that that's why you're lonely and that's why you're sad and that's why you feel lost. And dance really helped me undo that emptiness that I had felt for a long time. I've always known who I was as a Tahltan and Taku River Tlingit woman, but dance helped me to really come back home to myself and just to stand in my own power. I'm gonna eat the sunberry. I've learned about resiliency through my aunties, through their beauty and strength and laughter and survivance. And when I think about resiliency to myself, I just think about being the best auntie that I could be in walking tall and resisting every day.
I am Datsizi Sus, and I like dancing because it's really me. And it's me because I'm Indigenous and it's Indigenous. And it feels right to me, and it's really fun. And I feel happy, emotional, and glad because I'm dancing for my elders and all the other people who weren't allowed to dance.
We don't do it in a way to show off. We do that because we're showing that we're proud and that to be accepting of where you come from, to be accepting of, there's so many nations, not only Indigenous cultures, but everywhere else in this world, that everybody is different. And that to take that acceptance, and that's the big thing, is just accepting, of where we are right now, where we are going. To be able to know that you may not see them, but your ancestors are there. And I just feel like I'm making those who have passed on proud. And for those that after me, I want to make them proud as well.
That your arms, your wings are always out. You can have one behind.
According to Dr. Michael D'Angeli, there are up to 300 dance groups along the northwest coast of North America. It's a sign that Indigenous culture is alive and well despite former government oppression. And these dancers realize they are the conduits for a better tomorrow.
We need to continue to be righteously angry about things, but not to the point where we lose ourselves and in our understanding of the world around us, that we get lost in that anger.
We aren't where we want to be yet, but I think it's better because we're understanding what that was and what it did to us. And we're in a place where we can start being strategic.
It's nice to see that, yes, hard work does pay off, but to me it's not work. To me I'm doing exactly what my grandpa wanted me to do. I'm doing exactly what my family intended for me.
And I recognize that when I'm dancing, it's not about me. We're dancing for the ancestors. We're dancing for those yet, unborn. We're dancing for the sick, for the weak, for the people who are incarcerated.
In order for us to move forward, we need to leave stuff behind. And maybe it is part of that dark history that we leave behind.
I can't help but think of the 23 men and women who were locked up for potlatching. What went through their minds as they peered out through bars at a country of newcomers who viewed their civilization as barbaric?
We tried to force this so deep underground that you couldn't even practice it in a public eye at all. And now you've brought it back and you're going out of your way to share it with newcomers, to visitors, with people in the community. And all I can say is thank you. Thank you, because I learned from you. We watch what you're doing, we get excited about it, and we discover there's an emptiness in our own soul. And we're so fortunate that Aboriginal people have been resilient, have been determined, and are so gracious about sharing it with us again.
Duncan Campbell Scott and others tried to take away our potlatch, to choke our cultural breath. But Indigenous dance thrives because it is who we are. And so to honor the dancers of Chief Dan Cranmer's potlatch, to honor my daughters and all the dancers of the future, I'm compelled to step out from behind the camera, to follow the call that is and always has been beyond human power.